One. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Developing Tank podcast with me, Cooper, Hashem, and Alex. We're back, guys. We're back with episode 2. We had a lot of fun doing this first one, and we thought, we're keeping it running, keeping the series running, ongoing. Back with episode 2. For those of you who don't know anything about us, we are all avid photographers, majority of it, we mostly shoot film. We're big analog photographers. We all love street photography. These other two especially are big street heads, more so than me. But we love film, we love cameras, we love developing, we love printing, we love books, we love all that other stuff that's not web, Instagram based the most. And anyway, we love cameras. And today, the topic of today's video is rangefinders. We all shoot the same type of camera. We all shoot the same brand of camera as well, but there's not much to choose from. But we all love rangefinders. And today we're sort of going to speak on the topic of rangefinders, why we love these rangefinder cameras, why we use them, the individual cameras that we have, lenses, accessories, how we like to use them on the street, what they help us capture, what they're good at, what they're bad at, the price of them, things like that. We're diving into that topic today. So why don't we start it with let's go with Hashem. Hash, I noticed on the last episode you didn't talk too much. I was too overbearing and too loud, and Alex just had too much. To listen. Alex had too many good things to say about printing and your friend Yusuke and that sort of stuff. So I think we should start with you, Hash, and you take the reins for the first bit. However you want to kick it off, talking about. You want to start with your rangefinder of choice?
Yeah, sure.
And we'll just kick it off from there, and then we'll keep the chat going, and hopefully everyone else at home can geek out along with us, because, I do personally. I've listened to a few of these before, and I might sit there with my camera in my hand and be like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've got one of those as well. But kick it off for us, my friend.
Yeah, I love geeking out, and thanks, man. Enjoyed last week's... was it last week? But I enjoyed the first podcast we did, and I was looking forward to this one. And the topic should be interesting, hopefully, for some people listening. For my rangefinder of choice, I've always shot Leica, and at the moment I'm using the MA, which is pretty much like any Leica M camera. But I'll probably just start talking about how I started wanting to use a rangefinder. It wasn't even through the rangefinder itself. It was just the idea of having an optical viewfinder, because that's probably one of the biggest benefits from my point of view that you can get from certain point and shoot cameras. And that's what I used to do. I used to shoot street on my Nikon FE, but then also on some point and shoot cameras. And when I saw the benefits of having that optical viewfinder in terms of the speed that you can respond to when you're out shooting street and documentary work, that's what got me curious. So a lot of people would just assume it's a matter of Leica and whatever having some kind of superiority. It's not really about superiority. For me, it's actually more about suitability, because in a way, a Leica or a rangefinder might be inferior to other cameras in a lot of ways, which it is.
I think it is, yeah. I think suitable. They are. Yeah, they are
suitable for the kind of work that we're talking about. Street, reportage.
For what they're designed for, they're the best tool. But they are inferior for, let's say, if you're a serious portraits.
Portraits, yeah, portraits for sure.
Landscapes, essentially, sometimes maybe, because you're not getting 100% correct framing instead of an SLR.
Still life, parallax error.
Macro, they're no
reliability,
good.
Macro.
All kinds of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you know me, you've seen my work, I love to shoot travel, reportage, and street photography. And what I love about using a rangefinder is that everything is always in focus. You're looking through a window, you see the situation as it is, and if you look at, for example, one of my most recent Instagram posts, you can get the idea of how I shoot. There's a black and white photo where I have a wide sort of 28mm roughly scene, and there's a lot of layers. So I like to create different elements within a scene, and having a rangefinder viewfinder lets you do that, because you can automatically see from close to far.
Is this photo you're talking about, is that on the pushing film?
It's on my personal page, and it's a black and white post, my second last one. And I even made some, contact prints last night that I was telling you guys about before, and it gives you kind of a sense of what I like to shoot. And how I like to compose.
Pulling it up now. So this is the photo. I hope everyone can see on screen.
That's the one.
Now that's the one. Yeah, and you can just sort of, you can already see the layering there.
So yeah, from front to back and from left to right. Because if
I did see that, and I thought that was a great. That was perfect because you've just got foreground, middle ground, and background. And there's something going on it's almost perfect textbook because you've got the triple layers on a diagonal cutting the frame. So the guy on the left here, then the people having a hug, and then this couple coming down the stairs. But you know what I mean? There's something on every level cutting through on a diagonal. It's a very cool frame. Very cool frame,
Thanks,
my friend.
Man. Yeah. So that's pretty much my nutshell. It's not to say that you can't do that with any other camera. It's just I find that using a rangefinder makes shooting in that style a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, and it's all about timing because there's no delay that you would get with like an X Pro 3 or anything else like that. You can time it. So when that hug happened, I can time my shutter to be exactly. There's no delay. You're seeing life as it happens through that piece of glass.
Oh yeah, I hear you, and that's definitely part of the reason that I love rangefinders. And do you want to go next, Alex?
Yeah,
sure.
Talk about
that. That's
unless Hash, you want to keep going. You want to keep talking?
No.
Okay. Yep.
Short with that. Yep.
So Alex,
I think,
your rangefinder of choice these days. What you're shooting with?
Right.
Why you love it? What you like to shoot with it, etc. Go.
I have quite a few rangefinders. I have my Leica MP. So Hash has his MA. And then I have my black paint MP. And
with a nice bit of brassing. Have you used it enough? It's got some brassing. Nice.
You know what? I've just started to use it in the past this year, really.
There I can see it on the advance.
Yeah, I've only owned this camera. I've actually owned this camera for a couple years now, but I've only just started to really use it. I got some brassing right there.
It's very sexy.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, I think getting an MA or an MP, it's like a really good indication at this point that you really love.
You're commitment. Yeah, don't worry. I did recently look, and I was thinking about getting an MA. I almost sent Hash a message, and I was like, and I did. Unfortunately, when I'll get to me in a sec, but I did. Unfortunately, a deal fell through on me getting an MP just recently. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of the pinnacle for me, and I am doing this YouTube series that I'm really lagging on a lot because halfway because I've been just so busy with life and moving from Tokyo to Fukuoka, but I have this YouTube series, Can It Street.
Yeah, I do love that Can It Street. It's a great series with the different cameras. It's fantastic.
I gotta get it going. Yeah, I mean,
it's fun.
I've actually shot 10 videos already. One with Hash when he came to Tokyo. We did the Hexar RF, another.
I have such a love-hate relationship with that camera.
Speaking of brass, Alex actually gifted me. He took this off his camera, this little hot shoe cover, and he let me have it. And it's still on my Leica, and it's the brassing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I have another one on here. This is a brass black paint one.
Yeah.
And from JCH, which is from
good old
the
Japan camera hunter
company.
I'm just pulling up your some of your videos.
Oh, thanks, man.
Some of your videos here.
Yeah.
So we've got the Contax G1 and G2.
Right. Which is a
for people to go and check out Alex's channel, because if I wasn't clear, I mean not well. Clear for most people who are tuning in on YouTube, but in case you guys are just listening in via podcast apps and Spotify and stuff, we all have YouTube channels, and there's links to everything down below, and in the podcast show notes you can go find us. But here's some Alex's. Look, you got the GR1S, and there's Nikon Z8. That would have been a fun camera to use. I mean, that's a pretty hardcore piece of kit.
It was too much camera for me. It was
Yeah,
too much to handle.
I think I didn't watch that one because I was like, oh, the Z8. I was like,
Yeah.
it's just such an amazing camera with like wild,
Right.
you know. I feel like, you know, I think I was just
the
like,
amount of features on that camera was very, really complicated.
overkill. Like my,
Yeah,
and
which
again,
is
just
why
to
I like rangefinders.
yeah,
The
quick tangent
rangefinders
again
are-
is,
yeah,
I think that, you know, any digital camera that's come out in the last 4 to 5 years is more than anybody needs. Unless you're doing professional
Yeah.
cinema video, it's perfectly fine for everything. But tangent. Anyway, back to you.
Right.
Sorry.
yes. So like the Nikon Z8, it just has so many features, and it has, you know, the viewfinders in the center of the camera. I prefer them more on the side. And the beauty of a rangefinder is that it's such an old system. You know, it's such a simple system. It's the first kind of cameras. I think it was the Leica 3
3A.
series.
Yeah, the first Barnett cameras. Yeah.
3A, right? That was a rangefinder. It was the very first 35 millimeter film camera, right? And using this rangefinder system, it's one of the most oldest systems and to focus a camera, and it just works, and it's so simple that once you learn it, once you've adapted to, you know, mentally and physically and using these kind of cameras, you build up this experience, and you build up this kind of comfort.
Muscle memory. I reckon you definitely
Right.
build up a muscle memory with a rangefinder.
Yeah, you know, you have your focusing tab here, you have your rangefinder patch, which, you know, you may or may not use as often, comparing, you know, depending on what lens you're using, like if you're using a 28 or even a 21 sometimes, where really the skill is not in using the camera, because the camera is a box that's just so simple. The skill really comes from using your lens and how comfortable you are with that particular lens. And so the conversation about, is this camera good enough? Is this camera, you know, can it street? It becomes less about the camera itself. It becomes more about the lens. It becomes more about what you want to see, what you want to focus on. And so part of the reason I like rangefinders is because once you get over that learning curve of how to use a rangefinder, how it works, that the whole conversation about the camera itself, you don't really have to think about it. You don't have to talk about it. You're focusing on other things, which is great. Which I find with other kind of cameras, even SLRs, cameras with EVFs, all the really high tech cameras these days, the conversation and the focus and the learning of how to use the camera, it feels like you're always fighting these kind of cameras, these other kind of cameras.
You got to learn more how to use the menu system as opposed to the actual camera. It's all about,
exactly. It's just, there's so many features these days, and you know, Leica, unfortunately, and Pixie, right, are the only digital rangefinders that are out here. And
if I could get my hands on a Pixie, I would.
Yeah. Oh my God, I really, really want one.
Yeah, but I
just
like one. It's one of those cameras that I think no one even has it. You have to buy one, order one, and they are expensive. But my hesitation.
It's still a crop sensor, I guess. So
yeah. Oh no, new one's full frame. There's a new one, Hash.
The new one. That's right. Yeah,
new one, and what I love about them is if you bought one of the original ones, you can send it into them, and they will upgrade it to the full frame sensor. I mean, what kind of camera company does that? So
that's pretty sweet. Is
pretty
it
cool.
Here, by the way, right eye dominant? Like
no,
when you shoot?
no,
you're not right eye dominant.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm left eye, and that's the yeah.
So, do you shoot with your left eye with a rangefinder, or?
I do. I can use both, but I just get my right eye gets. If I use my right eye, it gets really, really tired really, really quickly, and I start to get a little bit blurry, and then I will have to switch back.
So you're left eye dominant. Have you done
and I've tried. And I've tried to make
it's
myself.
Not easy. Yeah,
it's hard. I did see a video from Karen Mayoko 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. Karen made a video about training herself to become.
Takes a while.
it does take a while. But
well, I mean, that's if you're fortunate enough to be right-eye dominant, which is how most of these cameras are designed. That's another big thing Alex mentioned is about having your left eye free for peripheral view. So, for example, with that shot that I was referencing before, or any shot really where you have elements outside the frame, the beauty of that is you can see them coming into frame, whether it's from that left or up or down, and further helping you get your timing correct.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I feel like, the one of the major parts is also you have the frame lines.
Yeah.
Frame lines are such a huge selling point, such a huge part of the shooting process. Being able to see outside of the frame, inside of the frame. And sometimes the frame lines aren't exact, and you have things like parallax correction, and you have these kind of things that don't make the system perfect, but when you're shooting street and you're shooting particular kind of things, that stuff doesn't matter as much. As long as you're like 90%, within got your subject within the frame of where the lines are, you're going to be fine.
Because I mean, most SLRs are there's only a few that I know of, like for instance the Nikon F3 that is 100% coverage. Otherwise, FE, FM, most of them are 93 or 97%. You know what I mean? They're not
Canon
the
F1.
full coverage as it is anyway. But speaking about the frame lines, that's one thing I love, again, with rangefinders is the options. So the viewfinder frame lines, but also magnification, depending on your style and what you like to shoot. The 0.9 in the M3, 0.85, which is personally my favorite set, then 0.72, which is our standard. There is sexiest camera. There's a painting of that on the wall in my house. I love the M3.
It's fantastic. Love this camera.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, through Camera Electronic here, sold them with the owners. He's got I was borrowing it a while ago. It's like it's a first batch 1955, but not the first. So anyway, no self-timer, old school one. I'm trying to get it off him for dirt cheap just to have it as like no frame line selector on that one. I'm just trying to, just so I've got one. Anyway, but having that option of magnification, and then like we briefly touched on the Konica Hexar, again that's a 0.6, and then 0.58 you can get
3 maybe or something like that.
Yeah, and then the Voigtlander Bessers again give you that option with the R2, 3, and 4, depending on your magnification, which it's really cool because I think within the niche of a rangefinder you can find, and you can sort of narrow it down to your shooting preference even more, whether you really like the wide. Whereas for me, 0.8's the best because I don't usually shoot 28 that much, or if ever. There's already 35 and 50, so having a 0.8 is my favorite, which I don't have at the moment. But what I do have is, because as Hashem knows, and Alex, you're soon to find out, I chop and change like there's no tomorrow, but I always stick with a rangefinder pretty much. So at the moment, I've been through all of them except the MA and the MP. I've owned them all except that. So at the moment, I've got an M6 Classic, a really nice one, which is beautiful. It's silver this time, but my first one was an M7. Surprisingly, my first rangefinder was an M7 that I got.
Oh wow!
I was cheap. I think I paid $2,100 for it, Australian, 2,100 Australian when I bought it. Like it was.
That's crazy.
That's what I mean.
Such
and
a
then
big deal.
Oh, it was crazy.
Right.
And that thing was great, but then I feel like having that as your first Leica, you become so dependent on aperture priority with that camera and like the stepless shutter, whereas because that's got exposure lock, so you could point, instead of having to actually do the work and read the light a bit more, you can just point into the shadows, half press, and then recompose. And I felt like that probably was a little bit cheating. But yeah, before this,
I felt sometimes that way with my Bessa R2A as well.
But yeah,
R2A also had that aperture priority.
Yeah, I recently had an M7 again, but I sold that. I bought it and then I fucking dropped it.
You did? I didn't even know you got another M7.
I had an M7 just before
Not
Christmas.
surprised, though.
Before Christmas, had it for 2 fucking days and dropped it, and it landed on the only weak point. In case anyone out there doesn't know, can do anything with these cameras. You can beat someone across the head. As long as you don't drop it and it lands on the film rewind lever, camera's good. I dropped it. Not only did it bend the rewind lever, it jammed up the entire whole film advance. What was the film advance carrier? Anyway, the camera cost a fortune, but then the repair bill cost $2,300 in the end, and I actually had to sell it from Leica Australia.
They send it to Germany.
No, they don't send anything to Germany here anymore. Everything, any in Australia at least, if you want to get your M serviced, you send it to Leica in Melbourne, Sydney, and they send it to Imaging by Design, which was formerly Imaging by Design. Camera Clinic. It was Camera Clinic, and now they are just the Imaging by Design is the name of the re-established company, and they just do all the analog Leica repairs.
I always thought complex repairs had to go to Germany because when it was Camera Clinic, as far as I know, they don't have the breadth of technicians and equipment and parts, and ideally
no parts they didn't. It was a long wait period. They had to wait for the whole shutter mechanism an M7 shutter mechanism to get delivered from Germany.
Unlucky, man.
So I had to sell that because it was just after Christmas, like I couldn't quite afford to pay to repair anyway. But then I've recently had an M4 again, like you, Hashem, your first one, the M4, and that was definitely, I think, probably the nicest one I've had. The M4, I would say the M4, stripped down, bare bones, but with, like I don't know if it was the M4 they still had made. It was parts that could be adjusted as opposed to replaced. Yes. I think, and it just felt
ever made.
Yeah, felt so nice. I mean, I think if I have to say to anyone besides the MP and the MA, I think the M4 is probably the next best built. But then M3s, I've always had a rangefinder. Always, I've had so many M6s. I've just had so many Leicas. Like I would say I am loyal to the brand, but I'm not loyal to specific cameras. Like I'll sell them as I need to, and then I'll get another one. But this one recently, because we all know how expensive it is, I got it with a 35 Cron, a spherical, the Matte Day special. This is the internet's favorite camera setup combo right here. M6 Classic with a 35 Summicron spherical. This is what all the hipsters have, and I'm really trying hard not to.
I mean, like that.
Yeah, I don't have to.
The rest of your life.
Let's say something else happens. I could sell other gear I have. I don't have to get rid of this. I even shot an entire whole roll this morning since I've been awake at 2:30 or 2 o'clock because I had to go to the stores early this morning for work. I shot a whole roll out at the airport, halfway at the airport, which is a new project I'm going to start called, I don't know, layover or something, because all the FIFOs in the terminal, like we were talking about before, they all sleep in the terminal. So I think I shot 20 frames of different people sleeping in different odd sleeping positions. Quite cool. I'm really excited to get that roll developed.
That sounds fun. That sounds really cool.
And I went in there and I was like, I've always wanted to do it. Then I just thought, you know what? I'm ahead of schedule this morning, and I just went back in there with this. And another good thing about the rangefinder, it's super quiet, so I wasn't disturbing anyone sleeping.
True.
But tangent. But the reason I love these cameras is threefold. The practicality of using it for documentary and street, and an everyday camera, it's fantastic. The heritage that goes into these cameras, I can't deny. I do buy into that crap a bit, that they're one of the oldest camera companies, and third, they're the most beautiful cameras you can get. They're just sexy.
Can't deny it.
They're sexy, but
other camera companies are designing their cameras, and it's in the same design language or similar design language to a Leica, then
I mean,
that's something.
But again, it's just they do, but it all comes together to make a desirable tool, but it's still a tool at the end of the day. I look at the rangefinder as a tool. It's a straight up tool, and like what I was capturing this morning, again, the way the rangefinder shutter works, and we talk about disadvantages of them later, but having that horizontal cloth shutter with super low vibrations. I had 100 speed Kodak Aerocolor. I've got a whole bunch of it that I'm testing out. I'm trying to figure out if that's a staple. Flick film, Santa Color 100, for anyone else who doesn't know, that's all Aerocolor. I was shooting at a 15th and an eighth, a 15th, and a 30th of a second this morning. That's what I was using inside the airport with a 100-speed film at f2. But I know the camera's heavy enough and solid enough, and my hands are steady enough, and there's so little vibration that I know that at a 15th of a second, I can get a sharp shot. Yeah. I'm not worried if the subject's not moving. And that's another thing I love about this camera, because you can't really say that about an SLR. You can't say that at an 8th or a 15th you can, there's vibration and you might get a blurry shot. Whereas I know that everything this morning that I took will be spot on. But not just that rangefinder. For sure. I've got another rangefinder to show off today. The big guns. Fujifilm GF670. It's back. It's back. The GF670 is back.
Did you have a silver one before?
No, I had the black one. And I'm pretty sure this one is actually mine, that I traded years ago to Camera Electronic. And
I got remember the serial number?
It is the same. I think it's the same serial number. It's because the mark's on it as well. But I traded it for a 35. This is how ridiculous Leica prices are as well. So I traded this and bought a brand new, I think it was $3,800 or $4,200, a brand new 35mm spherical version 2 with a metal hood. That same lens, brand new now, is like $6,500. I mean, like, whoa. Anyway, whoever bought this, I'm going to swear they fucked it. They've obviously tried to close it without shutting the, putting the focus back. It looks like they've tried to force the clamshell shut, and there's scratches and there's, Anyway, but this is an amazing camera, and main reason I wanted to get this is part of that project we were talking about that I've started again. Having this makes a lot of sense as a tool because it's all inbuilt light meters. I can be quick, multi-format, 6x6, 6x7 anyway, but having the rangefinder, and again, everything applies. I was shooting this morning as well. So I was shooting 6.7 when I stopped at the 7-Eleven to get a coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning, all the beautiful 7-Eleven neons, we all love that stuff, at a 15th and 30th of a second with 6.7. Not worried that, I'm not worried that they're going to be blurry shots. Whereas if you had something like an RZ or an RB or a Hasselblad, you'd have to be on a tripod and you'd have to do mirror up because of the big, SLR mirror slap on a medium format camera. But then again, there's things that, this isn't great for portraits. I mean, you can do portraits, but it's not great for portraits. There's that trade-off. And the other reason that we can maybe dive into now is the lenses. Should we start talking about lenses? Rangefinder and the lenses is another reason I love rangefinders. Like I have got, and I put it all here, like we have a 35, 50, and a 90 and a camera. Like, this is, a total rangefinder setup I have here. I've got the 35 Chron, the Light Lens Lab 50 Elcan, and then an old 1960s 2.8 Elmar, which is quite a nice vintage lens. But the whole set, look, I mean, it's in the palm of my hand. You can't say that about a lot of other cameras or camera companies. You can't say I can walk around. I got two lenses in one hand and one on the body. You just can't say that about other cameras and camera systems. And the same goes for a digital M. Same goes for a digital M, not just film. But I do love that the lenses can be so small and compact and jewel-like that this is a travel setup. This is, if you had one camera bag and these three lenses and a buttload of film, you can shoot everything and anything, more or less, between these three focal lengths, and it all fits in a really nice small bag.
Yeah, I think I had that exact same combo.
You've got the same setup as well, yeah. You've got the same combo, except you've got a 28 as well. I would like to get a 24. I'm really looking at going super wide with an optical finder for street photography. Yeah, but it's finding one that's not too expensive. And with the viewfinder as well, you know what I mean? Not having to pay that extra to try and track down the external viewfinder.
I have a TT Artisans 21mm external viewfinder that I got for like 5,000, 6,000 yen. Probably like 40, 30,
are they nice quality?
Like yeah, it's pretty good. It's glass, it's metal. It's actually pretty good. I got it on Amazon.
Because I bought a cheap one before off eBay, but it was like a plastic Fantastic, and I could barely even see out of it. Threw it in the bin when it arrived.
I would get the Voigtlander 21 if you were really serious about the wideness.
Is that the Ultron or the older F4 one? The new Ultron 21 or?
Yeah, it's
because
the
there's
color Scopar.
the F4. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Then, but now I got the new 3.5 brass black paint one to match my MP, of course, because you want to get all your lenses matching the body. And
Why not?
Things, right?
Why not?
Yeah. So I have with my MP. I'm a little bit crazy, a little bit spoiled. I enjoy these cameras as tools, but also the aesthetics and the
but anybody who tries to deny the aesthetics is full of shit. I'm just like, you can say it, even if it's only like a small fraction of it for that individual person, everyone has to admit, like, they are not that, like the film advance on probably not so much mine, but probably the MP. Hashem, does yours have the solid advance lever as well, like the all metal one, or have you got the half plastic one like the M6s like I have on here?
It's meant to have the metal one, but I actually bought it with a swapped out M6 style one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which,
but I mean, I would imagine both yours.
I actually prefer.
Yeah, like
because I want to focus, but yeah, you know the one.
Outside of the Nikon F3, I've never ever felt any other camera advance that's as smooth or as nice as a Leica. Like the F3, Nikon F3 with all those ball bearings is really sweet. That's a nice advance. But other than a Leica and that you can feel the craftsmanship and precision. You know what I mean? Like it's just so well built. It's so well built.
Speaking of the shutter advances, so I have the M3 dual stroke.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys have used the dual stroke.
Yeah, I have used a dual stroke before, yeah.
And for me, I really love this action, and I feel like it's faster than a full stroke too. And it has come in handy with shooting certain festivals where things are getting thrown in the air, and you really got to fire a lot of shots.
Yeah, no, I have used a double stroke before, and I actually really just like it from you get to advance the lever twice. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the most satisfying things for me with shooting film. I love advancing the shutter. I just love it.
Can I play devil's advocate for a bit here? Because
I agree
with the I love the craftsmanship and technical aspects, but for me, like, a lot of people talk about how smooth the shutter is and all that, but like I think it gets to a certain point where it's good enough. And sure, they're a great looking camera, but I still probably think like the Nikon F2 and Rolleiflex, and there's plenty of nicer looking cameras. And I'm also not one for like the red dot and it being too loud and all that. So yes, I do love those things and the craftsmanship, but number one, Leicas fail, and they're not any more reliable, in my opinion and experience, and everyone else's experience that I've absorbed. They're not more reliable than your average Nikon F or whatever.
Hell no.
At the end of the day, with all
Don,
that
I'll just say, I interject. I haven't seen a Leica take a bullet. Don McCullen in Vietnam. We've all seen that camera.
Well, there's a pretty small sample size for that, but at the end of the day...
But I've seen, Nikon F was bulletproof. I don't know about an M6.
Yeah, still, I'm not concerned about it being bulletproof, hopefully. To me, it just goes back to it being a tool. Like, this is nice, that's nice, and all these little things. It's all fluff. Like, at the end of the day, I just like how it works out on the street. I don't want it to pull too much attention. I don't care if the advance is a little bit smoother on this model than that model, and the paint, the finish, all that kind of stuff. It's nice, it's a bonus, but yeah, like, I think I got over those things. Not that I was ever that into it. For example, I did like this because it was black, but that's because I didn't want it to draw as much attention as the silver M4, which was a bit shinier, and this kind of just looks like generic. I want it to look generic. It's matte black. So that's my take.
Yeah, but you've always been like that. As long as I've known you, I reckon, Hash, you've had that train of thought. Like you're more about with your Leica. Leicas you've owned, it's more about like it's a tool, like it's it's the
with
right,
that at least. But in saying that, I love a good looking camera. I love the Canon Demi, the Rolleiflex, the Nikon F2, the Nikon F1. There's like a lot of great looking cameras, and they have like the Nikon TI series and some crazy cool stuff out there.
Oh yeah,
but
I mean I've got what actually I had a little eBay bidding thing. I've actually got another classic one, Nikon's. One of the L35 AFs is on the way from eBay. I got
nice.
$150.
That's a great looking camera. Yeah,
and that's 80s. I mean, that's a great looking 80s camera. I love,
Wasn't the guy behind Ferrari or something involved in the design?
Yeah, Giorgetto Giovanni or whatever his name was. He did all the Nikon cameras with the red stripe. Yeah, he did Ferraris. He designed the Volkswagen Golf as well. The first Volkswagen Golf he did
classic,
as well as Ferraris. Yeah, so and that's, I mean, Nikon's got that, that heritage and styling from the F3. Yeah, F3, sexy camera. I even think the F5 is a beautiful looking tank of a camera.
Yeah. So I think it's a trap. I think it's a trap to want a rangefinder because it's cool. I mean, it is cool, but especially a Leica. But I don't like the idea of people splashing out on it as their first film camera or as even their second one or whatever.
Right. My first film,
because like, where is it? Beak or someone like us uses it on YouTube or whatever.
Like, I mean, it's broken. It's died. But my first film camera here, 1972 Nikon EL2, and it does more than this. It's actually 1/1000th of a second max shot, but this has aperture priority. M6 doesn't have aperture priority. This was my uncle's camera that he shot photos of me as a baby on, and it came to me. This is all I used for years. Is a hunk of shit with a 50mm. It's all like, it's actually got some nice brassing on it from how much I used it. You can hear that shutter as well. It's loud. That, you know what I mean? I feel, and that's the other thing, you're right. I don't think people should buy them as their first camera or even their second camera. I think you really have to put in the yards, almost like pay your dues, kind of, is almost in a way.
I wouldn't.
But again, if you were just
keep the thing, but it's just
I don't want to be a gatekeeper. Like, let's say, if you
protect you from being misled by the internet. That's the thing, because people do get misled. I worked at a camera store. I've spoken to these people who buy it. And they sell it after a month. So I think there's a bit of an illusion.
I know people that did that. They only bought the M6 because because it's a Leica M6, and then they realise, you know what, don't really like this. So it's a lot of money. Like, I'm not that invested in it, and
But if you have the money to splash, go for it. Like, if you have disposable income, then whatever, try it. You'll sell it. You get your money back. It's just more of you're trying to not dissuade people, in that direction.
No,
right.
But I mean, another one of the things I want to touch on, and it's something we all do, and probably this is one of the big reasons why we and everyone else use these cameras for street and documentary, same as like Gary Winograd, and zone focusing with a rangefinder.
Yeah.
We can't go past that. That is one of the main reasons I love these things for street photography, because zone focusing with a 28, with a 35 or wider is, there's nothing to it. It's just faster than autofocus, 100% reliable. And I just also love the idea of when you teach yourself how to work within a zone. So set the zone on the camera, but when you can judge that 2 to 3 meter distance gap of someone in front of you, like mentally, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's like an intellectual exercise, as well as using your head to read the light and be able to, get a spot on exposure just from looking at the light, which you were the king of, Hashem, as far as I'm concerned. Rocking the MA, you just go hardcore, no light meter. But zone focusing on these things is definitely got to be one of the main reasons I've got one, I would say, and one of the main reasons a lot of people use them for street and documentary.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've done extensive videos on zone focusing to teach people how to do it, Hash, which is great.
No, I don't think I've done videos on it. Mm-hmm. Alex has done a zone focus.
Haven't you?
Video.
Yeah, I did.
Or maybe it was your video, Alex. I'm getting confused. I'm getting confused. There must be. Yeah.
I mean, I must get confused. I've done 1 or 2 videos on zone focusing. Really, I think it's a lot of fun to do zone focusing. It's not.
I think it's a lot of fun,
depending on the situation,
to do it. And when you nail a shot perfectly and you've zone focused, I think that is very satisfying.
Yeah, and it's really kind of once you've invested the time into learning your lens, because you're not learning the camera when you're zone focusing, you're learning your lens. Once you've acquired that bit of muscle memory, then it's kind of like this very liberating feeling. You can just like, oh, this subject over there, boom. This subject close to me, boom. This subject in this range. Sometimes you're at f11, and you could be like, your zone could be way off, but when you see the photo in the end, it's sharp enough anyways, and you're fine.
Well, it's sharp enough for film. There's only so much sharpness we can get out of off a 35mm negative.
Yeah, so zone focusing is this great fun skill, and once you learn how to do it, and you go back to autofocus, you're kind of like, oh wow, I have to take myself out of the driver's seat, put it into this computer and this camera, and that to me is a little bit unsettling. Still,
yeah, I hear you.
If I go to like the Nikon Z8, especially with all these autofocus features and the eye detect and the airplane detection,
I don't use
all
it.
this stuff.
Even on I just use single point on most of my digital cameras anyway. Still, to be honest, I'm bored.
I'm always like, turn all this stuff. Yeah, if you watch that video I did with the Z8, the first thing I did is I told my friend who owns the camera, can we just turn off all of this BS? I just want to do single point,
just
AF, and all this stuff. And you know what the crazy thing is that 100%, like we turned off everything, but the camera was so high tech that it assumed that you wanted those features to be on still. So it would still, even if you have the features off, it would show the box of that detection of that face or whatever, even though it won't focus on it, it shows the box like it's gonna focus on it.
Yeah, and then,
that was like, no, I don't want to.
That's distracting.
See that.
I think I know people, like for instance with the Nikon ZF, and people rave about the manual focus experience on that, and being able to have that semi-hybrid, like it'll see the face and then you can punch in and it will go straight to the face. While it's cool, I think features like that are distracting. I mean, it might work for some people, but for me personally, that's why I held off. I've chopped and changed between, as far as digital cameras go, between a DSLR and a mirrorless camera for years, because I just couldn't deal with mirrorless EVFs. They would drive me nuts. I just much prefer the optical viewfinder, which is why I've had the Leica M10 and Leica M10R before. I've had a couple M10s just because, again, optical, it's simple. All I need to see is my exposure, my, shutter speed, whatever, that's it. And then there's no distraction. There's no, am I under, am I over? That, the EVF brightness going up and down. When you step into a dark shadow area, there's the lag. You know how the EVF will bump up the gain in the EVF and you lose, it goes, you get that lag for a sec, which is, another reason rangefinders is just, there isn't any. And I suppose a lot of what we're talking about applies to digital M, which is why, it's touched like the M10 I still think is my favorite digital, and will be my favorite digital camera ever. And the only reason I got rid of it recently was to get the SL2, because it just makes more sense to try and have, I can shoot YouTube, client work.
It's a hybrid.
Hybrid, but it's still a Leica. But, because I'm a bit of a snob, I'm a bit of a Leica snob, but it's the menu system on that, simplified, it's easy, it's nice, it's not very convoluted like everything else. It's very pared down, and it's got that minimalist design aspect the SL series does to it, like the M's. But, yeah, having the optical finder, like you touched on, Hashem, at the beginning, that's definitely, and the same could be said about an SLR, but just having that full field of view and optical finder, there's just no distractions on a rangefinder when you're trying to compose. I find there's minimal distractions compared to using other camera systems, and it definitely lets me be in the zone.
In the moment. Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? Being more in the moment without distractions. Because when I'm out in, you get that flow of the state.
Oh, when you're in
experience,
when you're in the zone, I reckon there's no better feeling at all. Like you just, the voices, the crowd, other people looking at you, everything just kind of falls by the wayside, and you were just like locked in to that frame lines and that patch and just composing and finding, that definitely is part of the reason why I love photography, I suppose, not just range.
Yeah, absolutely.
Photography, that feeling really, and doing that and being creative. I can kind of draw, but I can't paint. Yeah. I can paint with a camera.
Yeah, it tends to be that these rangefinders have little to no functionality outside of just taking a photo. shutter speed, aperture. That's a cool thing.
Or, clubbing someone out across the side of the head
Taking
with
bullets,
one as
apparently.
self-defense. I still remember, I love it, and I think about it often, is the Everybody Street documentary that we've all seen hundreds of times, but Jill Friedman's segment on there, she's like, hey, you're talking about it, it's just a camera, it's a solid camera, I'll take you off and bash the side of the head with it, like this little old lady like talking about using it for defense, and every time I crack up when I watch that or remember that bit, I'm like, oh, you cracked me up, Jill. She's hilarious. She was a hardcore woman on the streets of New York in the 60s, 70s, and 60s and 70s, shooting what she did.
Definitely super hardcore.
Another tangent. Love a good tangent. For those of you who are just tuning in or getting in, I love a good tangent.
Yeah,
Where else
Joel
are we at?
Meyerowitz, another legend that I admire his work. And he shoots in that way that I.
But again, even
really
Joel
enjoy.
Meyerowitz, we're talking about before about them not being the ideal camera. Some people have to find them. I've seen so many interviews of him saying that the first camera, when he quit his job and went out and got a camera, he went and got a Pentax K1000. He went and got, basic SLR. That's what he started with. Then he moved, to the rangefinder and street photography, and he found that system. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I think, starting with one's definitely sometimes not the best idea as well.
You could if you wanted to as well. Because I guess back.
Something like
more
you've got the Canon QL 17 or 28, one of them, Hash? Or you've used them before?
I was going to say that, for example, Sergio, I don't have one. Sergio Lorraine, for example, I think he went out and bought a Leica as his first camera. Back then, it was different. There weren't as many options. But if someone really knew this is what they wanted to shoot, and this is the style they want to shoot, and it lends itself to a rangefinder, by all means, go out and get that as your first camera. That would work well.
I would have been stoked if I knew that was the case for me. Like, if I knew that the system was the way to go, you know what I mean? And you just right, you could have just all those years ago gone into it and got everything dirt cheap. You know what I mean?
It's a steeper learning curve, though.
Yeah.
Compared to other options
definitely.
Today.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%.
I think this is why some people, maybe they want to get a rangefinder, a Leica specifically, especially, and they haven't really researched how the camera works, why you would want this kind of camera, how to shoot it, and these kind of things. They just like the aesthetics, right? And then they buy the camera, and then they start using it, and then they're like, wait a second, this is not working for me. This is not fitting my style of photography. It takes time to learn how to use it. It's not as maybe engaging when you're focusing as using an SLR or a camera with an EVF if it's digital, right? And then they go and return it, or they sell it and they don't get on with it. And then they'll go on to say that rangefinders are not good cameras.
Yeah. I mean, I do know some people who have stopped shooting rangefinders, and I hope it doesn't happen to any one of us, because their eyesight has started to go. And they can't, you know what I mean? I know a few people, like being good friends with one of the owners of the camera store here. A lot of the times when he has a rangefinder come in, secondhand digital one or something, multiple times he's told me the story. The guy came and traded it for an SL or for a Q2 or so. Yeah, they got rid of it because their eyes couldn't keep up with using a rangefinder anymore, which is a drawback of the system. Some people can't use it because of that.
You can buy diopters though, can't you?
Yeah, I think it's just like. Maybe, the older you get, I'm not sure. Or they
Can't
just,
be bothered.
I mean, I know Matt Day's spoken about getting LASIK surgery before, and, he was struggling to use his M6 for a while, and then he got the laser eye surgery, and then that made it a lot better as well. But I definitely
only a soft prescription, and it's long-sighted.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm still good with.
Still good. I do subscribe to. I mean, I've got like some of the books behind me there, but using the same camera that some of the greats have used. I kind of, I don't mind. I like that association with it.
So it's a romanticism kind of
definitely
thing.
For me a bit as well. Definitely. And I'm not going to lie. And, I'll like I said, I will 100% say, I'm biased, love affair with Leica and Leica cameras, 100%, and I do buy into that aspect of it. But I also buy into all the practical reasons as well. And it doesn't sit on a shelf, you know what I mean? And none of our cameras sit on a shelf. They get used. In my case, they get used and abused. But then, you know, I don't like the idea of these cameras like this, especially them being so expensive. I don't like the idea of them sitting on a shelf. I mean, if that's what you like to do and you like to collect, you got all the money to collect, you know, that sort of thing, and you're somebody that tunes into the, you know, the Leica auctions, hey, go for it. That's how you spend your money. You know, I mean, some people buy Ferraris, $250,000.
Yeah, they collect watches or
collect
Lego,
watches, you know, collect cameras. Yeah, it's cool. I just, you know, I like the idea of them that they're beautiful, pretty tools, but they're tools for first and foremost that need to get used. Like I think a couple of the books I've got up there, like a couple, that one at the top, Sebastian Sagado Gold book.
Amazing guy.
Amazing, but that body of work specifically in the Amazon jungles in the most heinous conditions, photographing all the people mining gold and stuff. But you know, just like
he would shoot what suits a variety of cameras, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He would choose what suits the situation.
Whatever suits the situation. Yeah, exactly.
That's a real technician, the tool for the job.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The name or whatever.
Just like you know, I would even say like now, like Steve McCurry these days. Steve McCurry is a pretty synonymous these days with Leica. He does a lot of work with Leica, you know, pushes the Leica products. But again, we all know the Afghan girl was shot with an FM2. You know what I mean? Like whatever camera, you know, whatever camera
he does these days, it's more of a financial incentive than actual like.
He's a sellout. Is that your nice way of saying?
You know what? Like, no, I admire his work. I even went and saw him when he was in Melbourne at a thing. I've never been like the biggest fan. I love his work again, but the sponsorship scene's kind of out of nowhere when you, like you said, he's been shooting all these other cameras for so long.
Long, and then all
they must have approached him and paid him some money to do this deal.
Yeah.
So is it?
Yeah.
It's different to say if Cartier-Bresson was alive and he was doing an ad for Leica, I would buy into that more than Steve McCurry. That's true. All I'm saying. Yeah.
And I'll give I give Leica's marketing department credit. What they have done over the last couple of years to put the M and then the M6 back in the forefront. I mean, like, credit to them. They've made it more iconic, I think. You know what I mean? Like with the way they've marketed it.
And
the people they've used it.
Jason Momoa, whereas like when I see him and him talking about Leicas, I can tell he has a genuine long-time appreciation.
Oh yeah, he's big time.
I enjoy that more than Steve McCurry.
But even him, he rolls around with like a you know, he's got the money, but like a red Komodo 8K thing for filming like video because he's got a passion for, you know, film and television videos. He's got like the most hardcore cinema camera next to an original black paint M3 that he's, you know, genuinely loves. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's part of his collection.
Of a collector than a photographer.
Yeah.
And then you've got Greg Williams, who is a photographer and he does that fashion stuff, and he was already shooting Leica Qs, and I get that partnership.
You know, his fashion stuff and celebrity stuff's really good work. His stuff as well. But yeah, you know, we all subscribe to different strokes for different folks. But there's definitely a reason that, you know, I think the three of us are kind of unified around using rangefinders. That's for sure.
Multiple reasons, eh?
Multiple reasons, yeah.
So you're using a Voigtlander Bessa and you gain most of these same advantages.
You do. I have had the Bessa. It's just I bought the Bessa at a time when I was like, oh, the M's are getting so expensive now. I'll try Bessa. And I tried it, and I was like, it does the exact same thing, and it's even better. It's got an extra stop on the shutter speed, and it's got aperture priority, but it just doesn't feel the same in my hand.
I've
not even
a Nikon or Canon rangefinder, but I've heard good things. It's probably just not the same. They're not as refined.
It's not the same. It's just I found that with the Bessa, one of the big things for me was, they're not built as well, but I found that the way that the Leicas are made, you know, that curved body that fits nicely in the hand, whereas the Bessas were a little bit more boxy. Same as the Konica Hexa RF, that's very squared, and I just felt like somehow it just that little bit more comfortable in the hand. But yeah, and better built. But there we go. I've lost my signal, guys. Sorry.
But
Can we still hear me?
Appropriately, a red dot Leica logo came up as you were talking about Leica. It's like a
Well, that's quite funny actually. It's because I said I'm using
have they sponsored this podcast, and
I'm using the SL is
No,
using the
fine.
SL as my webcam, the SL2.
I suppose you can edit this part out if you want.
Oh, I can put you guys on the screen. Doesn't matter. The audio is what's important, to be quite frank.
I'll just check my battery as well.
Yeah.
This opportunity.
But I think we maybe will. We'll call it time out soon. I think we're almost at an hour, which is a good amount of time, podcast wise. I feel like, and just trying to charge up the camera now on remote
I have to admit, there's like a certain level of wankery that comes with the Leica name that, we all have to somewhat accept and subscribe to. But
Yeah.
Mate, I'm probably part of that wankery that comes with it, to be quite frank.
we all are. Really.
Yeah.
I definitely am.
It's like how much do you actually benefit from the usage of it, and also like.
Sure.
I mean, I can get but I still think that we buy cameras that we like to use. But at the end of the day, if you gave any of us any camera, I'd make it work. You know what I mean? I'd make it work.
Yeah.
Give me a Nikon. Give me a Nikon FM, like your FE hash, your black FE that's appeared in multiple videos that you strongly rep all the time. Give me a Nikon FE with a 35 or 50mm lens. Golden. I'll still get the job done. But it just sort of comes down to that after years of shooting, that preference you have with the camera, or you get attached to a certain style of shooting, and it makes shooting easier for you, and it works better for you. But again, we could all get the job done with any camera you give us, I would say.
In saying that, I don't think I'd be able to do the same job. I would shoot just as well, but it wouldn't be the same kinds of photos and the same results. I think the camera does lend itself in a way to the images on average. Would you agree, Alex?
Can. Yeah. So I have I've switched between shooting 21 with my Leica M6 or MP with flash on and off camera, and then I switched to my Canon F1 shooting 24mm with flash on and off camera. And the experience is, it's roughly the same. But I think the biggest thing is that the lenses, you have that focusing tab, whereas with the SLR lens, you're going to have to, learn to
pre-focus.
Kind of pre-focus, or you can put one of those rubber tabs on there, the 3M tape and everything that we've had. We both had on our lenses before, right? And so the quickness and the reliability, and also the sound, the loudness.
Yeah, just that alone could change the way you approach a shot.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know the person's going to hear you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's a big thing. And it's not just then the strength of the flash, the surprisingness of the flash, but then the sound of my Canon F1 is pretty loud too as well. So it's kind of like this double whammy of like surprise, even with people who I've asked for a photo. I've asked them for the photo, and then it's just like, oh, flash, and then the sound at the same time too as well. So it's kind of those two things. And then the Leicas are smaller. The rangefinders are typically smaller. So when you're holding a flash and you're holding these situations, and sometimes a beer in one hand as well, then
feels casual.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit more relaxed and easy, and I have a more fun time. I have an easier time.
Yeah.
Functionally,
I'm actually exploring this concept, and I'm doing a video about shooting medium format on the street. It's kind of just for fun, and it really illustrates this contrast between like a small camera and something big and loud. So I sometimes do it every now and then just as an exercise, like taking the Pentax 645N with a wide lens and shooting street the way I would, as close as possible at least.
Well, with the advance of the Pentax 645 as it advances.
It's super loud.
Super loud advance,
big, It's slow.
unfortunately, guys, really I am not going to be able to get my camera video feedback.
Well, that's okay. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
We were approaching the end there anyway, weren't we?
Yeah, we're approaching the end of it anyway. As long as we've got the audio, that's all good. Yeah. Nobody needs to see my ugly face for an hour long anyway.
But I've shot this guy here, this rangefinder here.
They are great. Very quiet as well. They're good. Yeah.
Yeah, not too loud, and I can just set my zone. It's got flash. I can do flash with it. And I can shoot medium format on the street, any style I want. It's got this portrait orientation as the default.
You would take more portrait orientation shots. Yeah. So again, the camera lends itself to the way you shoot.
Exactly. So having to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the
great, but
the Bronica RF in the past, and that's a great camera. The only problem with that is too much electronics and features that can die on it, and it's an expensive camera. That one,
they break easily.
Yeah, unfortunately. Lever, apparently. But that's why I like the GF 670. You know what I mean? Like it's quick, and I will say that the viewfinder, the rangefinder on the GF is actually the best I've said it before. It's the best I've used on any rangefinder, brightness, clarity. The big, giant big view. I mean, to be honest, I have never actually had the opportunity to hold a Mamiya 7, so I can't quite comment, but I'm assuming that because the Fuji is so much newer, made in like the mid 2000s, it might actually be better than the Mamiya 7's viewfinder anyway. But definitely not a bad camera for street. Yeah. Anyway, we just hit an hour on the recording. So maybe we'll cut it for today's episode on why we love rangefinders, why we shoot rangefinders so much. Any final thoughts to add, guys?
Try one.
No? Try one. Yeah, if you don't, buy a cheap one. Like I was just talking about before. Start off with something cheap like one of the Canon QL series. I think they're a great place to start if you want a rangefinder.
Yeah, I used to have that. That's what I used.
Canon QL, Olympus RC. Another little, the smaller compact rangefinders, they've all got a fixed lens, roughly 28 to 40
XA
mil.
Even.
XA, yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good place to start because you don't have to shelf out the money for the body, then the lens. You've got everything built in.
Use a
friends.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Go to a meetup.
Yeah.
Try a bunch. Yeah.
Use a friend's camera first.
Use your friend's camera first.
Shop. Yeah.
Definitely.
You might like it. You might not.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning into episode 2. We'll be back for, I think we're probably starting to do this bi-weekly now, maybe. I think bi-weekly is probably every 2 weeks. We'll try and crank out an episode. Weekly if we all have the time. If we can line up the schedules. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in to episode 2 of The Developing Tank. Leave your comments or any suggestions, anything you'd like us to cover, throw it down in the comments below, and we can look at doing, more video, covering more topics next time, something like that. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.